Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know the drill. We're taking one piece of content and going deep on it. Today's pick is a fascinating one. It's an article from Vanguard, negr.com, and it's about a message from Pastor e.adeboye. He's a pretty prominent religious leader in Nigeria. Anyway, what caught my eye was the kind of contrast in his message. Like, on the one hand, he's telling Nigerians to be thankful, you know, despite all the problems the country's facing. But then he also comes out kind of strong against what he calls indecent dressing. So I'm curious, what's the connection? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It is an interesting juxtaposition. To understand Adeboye's message, though, I think it's helpful to start with some context.
Okay, sure.
So Pastor Adeboye leads the Redeemed Christian Church of God. It's a Pentecostal church, and it's actually one of the largest churches, not just in Nigeria, but globally. They have branches all over the place.
Wow, I did not realize it was that big.
Oh, yeah. So when this guy speaks, people listen. Millions of people. His words carry a lot of weight.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, back to his message. He's talking about being thankful, even with all the challenges Nigerians are facing. What kind of challenges were we talking about here?
Well, Nigeria is facing a whole bunch of issues right now. You've got economic problems like high unemployment, inflation's hitting everyone, basic goods are getting more expensive, and then on top of that, you have the security concerns too. You know, various conflicts and violence. It's a lot for people to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, no kidding. So, you put it that way, his message about thankfulness, it hits a little differently.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about gratitude when things are good, you know, but when you're surrounded by hardship, when you're struggling to get by, it's a whole other story.
Totally. So is this like a coping mechanism? Is Attaboy trying to give people a way to deal with all this?
It could be. You know, there's actually a lot of research on this, the psychology of gratitude. They found that even in really tough situations, practicing gratitude can have a positive impact on people's well-being.
Really? Like even if your life is falling apart, being thankful can actually help.
It sounds counterintuitive, but yeah, studies show it can actually help people be more resilient in the face of hardship. You know, it's not just about feeling good. It's about finding the strength to keep going.
Huh? That's pretty amazing. So maybe Attaboy's onto something here. It's not just some feel-good message. It's more about survival.
It's possible, and I think we also need to consider the cultural context here, too. You know, Nigeria has a long history of resilience, and religion faith has always played a huge role in how people cope with difficult times. So Attaboy's message, it probably resonates very deeply with that cultural experience.
Makes sense. But then
Mhm.
there's the other part of his message, the part about indecent dressing. How
Yeah.
does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, that's where things get a little more complicated, I think. To really understand Attaboy's stance on this, we have to look at how clothing norms have evolved in Nigeria.
Okay, how so?
Well, over the last few decades, especially in the cities, there's been a pretty big shift towards more Western styles of dress. You know, what you might see in Europe or America. This has caused a lot of debate within Nigerian society about what's considered appropriate, what's considered decent. There are varying interpretations, let's say.
So decent dressing isn't like a clear-cut thing in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's more of a spectrum.
Exactly. And that's why Attaboy's message is so interesting, because it taps into this ongoing debate. Some people might see it as upholding traditional values, you know, pushing back against these changing norms. Others might see it as an attempt to control people's behavior, especially women, and how they express themselves through clothing.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely a sensitive topic. So we've got these two parts of Attaboy's message. Thankfulness and clothing choices, they seem kind of separate. But do you think there's a connection? Is there like a deeper message he's trying to get across?
It's hard to say for sure. He doesn't explicitly connect the two. But one way to interpret it is that maybe Attaboye sees a link between inner spirituality and outward appearance. For him, maybe gratitude isn't just about what you say, it's about how you act, how you present yourself. Maybe it's about living your faith in a holistic way.
Huh. So these two things that seem separate, maybe for him they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And it's an idea that's not unique to Nigeria either. Many cultures around the world have these traditions where your outward appearance reflects your inner values, your beliefs.
That's a good point. So what do we take away from all this? This deep dive's been pretty eye-opening. I mean, Attaboy's message, it really gives us a glimpse into how faith and culture and personal expression all intersect in Nigeria.
Definitely. And it highlights both the challenges and the resilience of Nigerian society. I mean, they're facing some serious issues, but there's also this deep well of strength and faith.
Absolutely. And I think the bigger takeaway here is that societal norms, whether they're based on religion, tradition, or anything else, they have a huge impact on how we make choices,
Yeah.
how we behave.
Couldn't agree more.
It makes you think about your own life, your own culture. You know, where do we draw the line between individual freedom and societal expectations? It's a question worth thinking about, especially as the world gets more and more complex.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something we all grapple with in different ways.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with a fresh topic and a new source. But until then, keep thinking, keep questioning, and we'll see you soon.
See you then.
Bye-bye.